Hi, welcome back to the Crafty Hen House. My name is Elaine. Today I brought you into my kitchen and I'm going to be canning some applesauce today. The recipe that I'm using is off the Ball Home Preserving book. This is a great book. Has a lot of good recipes in it and a lot of instructions, very easy to follow. Don't have the luxury of having bushels of apples in the location that we live in South Florida. So I've chosen to go up to our local supermarket and I bought these beautiful apples. These are Gala and Granny Smiths. You're going to be needing 12 pounds of apples. They sell apples in the 5-pound bag, and but they're beautiful apples. They're just gorgeous. And a couple of the materials that you're going to be needing are you're going to need a bowl with a gallon of water in it, as well as 3/4 of a cup of lemon juice. Now they suggest that you use real lemon juice out of the bottle. The consistency for the acidity is consistent throughout the bottle. Where you may not get the correct consistency by squeezing lemons for the acidic level. This is to ensure after you've peeled them and cored them that they do not brown. A couple other things you're going to need is 3 cups of sugar. Spices, if you want to put spices in your applesauce, with cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice. They suggest out of the book, I'm going to go pretty much by everything that they say in the book here. And they say 4 teaspoons of whatever spice you'd like. And the spices I've decided to use are 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1 teaspoon of allspice. This will give me my 4 teaspoons of spices that I want to use. That of course also includes 3 cups of sugar. Now this recipe calls for 8 pint-sized jars, and I'm going to use 6 pint size, and I'll also be using half pint size as well. We'll go through a half pint probably for a lunch or a dinner, and the quart sizes are a little big. We won't eat it as quickly. So I'm going to put it in the pint-sized jars. You're going to need all your other canning supplies. You're going to need to start your boil bath. We're going to be boiling it in a bath on the stove. Also, you're going to need your pan. You're going to be cooking up your apples on the stove, and then we're going to take everything off the stove. After it's cooked down, we're going to emulsify it with an emulsifier. You can also mash them up. If you don't have an emulsifier, this will give you a really creamy texture. We're going to be adding in our sugars and our spices and putting it back on the stove to heat up. So that's a little preparation to tell you. Now, the first thing that we need to do, of course, is cut and core our apples. So let me share this with you. This is a handy little core that one of the homesteaders that I follow online had suggested to buy when you're coring or peeling a lot of apples. And it's really quite convenient. You're just going to take your apple, you're going to put it on the post, and then it has a lever to push forward. Oops. It has a lever to push it forward slightly because you want to get to this area, and there's the peeler is on this side, which is being held down by a little toggle, and you're going to lift the peeler just so it starts to work on the apple. And this end right here, there's a hole, and that is the core. So you're going to just put your apple on there. It's going to peel your apple. It's going to make the apple into ringlets. And you just continue all the way through until you get right through the very end. And you can then have your apple is completely peeled and cored. And then what you're gonna do is you have this water bath. This bath is 1 gallon of water with 3/4 lemon juice. And then you're just gonna take your end off, push the lever down. Let me turn you a little bit more so you can see that. Okay, again, you have a little lever down here. You're gonna pull it so that you can slide the arm. You're gonna take the butt end of your apple, put it through the prongs, and this is the little peeler. It has a little lever. You can lock it down so you can get your apple. Then you're just gonna push the lever down so you can slide the apple up to kind of close where the peeler is gonna land. And this is the core. So then release your peeler, and I hold it back a little bit as I start peeling till it lands on the apple. And then you just continue to peel. Such a great little tool to have when you're doing this many apples. And you know, you can also take your apples peelings and your cores and compost them. You can feed them to little critters, or if you are raising animals on your farm or your homestead, you can take all the peelings to them. Now that you have peeled and cored all of your apples, they're ready to be rinsed in the sink and taken over to the stove and put in your stainless steel pot to bring to a boil. You're gonna add about a cup of water, just enough so that they don't stick to the pan. I've chosen to use a stock pot. Mine's an electric stock pot that you can get for making stews or soups. It heats up quite quickly and it maintains its temperature, so I can regulate it more I'm filled up on my stove with my burners, and this way I can keep everything moving, keeping my water hot for when I get ready to do my boiled bath. So let's rinse these apples and get them in the pot. This again is a little Presto stew pot, and I really like it when I'm making chili or soups or stews or spaghetti sauce. You can keep it nice and hot. It heats up quite quickly. We're gonna just go ahead and we're gonna put all the apples in here. They're gonna break down when they cook, so let's hope I get them all in. And I have the heat on already. Once I get all these apples in here. And I'm going to pour in my cup of water. And there we go. I'll put on my lid so I can retain the heat, and they'll cook down. And this will go on to a slow boil for about 20 minutes. And you'll notice when the consistency starts to get real soft, and you can break them up easily, that we're ready for our next step. So our apples have been coming to a slow boil for now 15 minutes. And let me show you, you can probably hear, this is a great stock pot, and you can see that they're really boiling down. I had the pot quite filled when we put them in here, and I've got about a 2.5, 3-inch head space now. They're boiling down so nicely. There's a little bit of a peel. Let's get that out and just stir it up. We're at about 5 more minutes. We'll continue to let this boil down. Again, you can use anything that you would like as far as putting this on your stove to heat it up. But they do suggest that you use stainless steel. This is a Presto, it's a non-stick, and it has warm setting, and it goes all the way to 400 degrees actually. But this seems to work really well for me, and it actually held 12 pounds of sliced up apples for our applesauce. So let's wait for about 5 minutes, and then we'll start adding in our sugar and our spices. Okay, we've completed boiling down our apples for our 20 minutes, and now it's time to emulsify. We're going to emulsify the apples down to the consistency of applesauce, and you can leave it chunky if you like. You don't have to have it really smooth. Be careful that, remember when you are emulsifying or mashing, that the liquid is very hot. You don't want to get burned. So let's get started. consistency. So this is the easiest way that I found to make your applesauce or your sauces or salsa or anything like that, to get the tomatoes or get the apples down to a good consistency that I'm happy with. You might like them a little different. Let me show you the consistency of this applesauce. It's absolutely wonderful. So now it's time that we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add our sugar, and we're gonna add all of our spices, and also the recipe calls for 4 tablespoons of lemon juice. So again, we're gonna use our bottled lemon juice. Shake it up good. You do get a lot of settling in the bottom. So let's go ahead and add our lemon juice, 4 tablespoons. Make sure, yep, tablespoons. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add our spices. Again, I've used 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. I've used 1 teaspoon of allspice and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. We're gonna mix that up well, and we're gonna add our 3 cups of sugar. And then you're gonna turn your heat back up and bring this to a slow rolling boil. And then it'll be time for us to fill the jars and put everything into a boil bath and get them nicely sealed, and we will be finished. So let's go ahead, turn the heat back on. I'm gonna start my pot at about 200. And we'll let that get to a nice rolling boil, and we'll be able to then start filling our jars. Our applesauce has come to a nice low rolling boil, and I've turned it down to warm. We're ready to start filling our jars. I have my boil bath. The water is beginning to boil, so that I know they're going to be ready when I set all of the jars inside. The reason I have 2 pans on the stove for my boil bath is that I needed a deep enough pan to hold the taller jars, and the short pan that I've always used for jams and jellies with the small jars, that works sufficient. These 6 jars will fit in the larger pan, and there's also a stand inside there that holds the jars off the bottom of the pan, so they get a rolling boil underneath them as well. So let me start filling these jars with you. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and we've put our funnel on top of the jars. These jars have all been cleaned. We have a pan with our lids and our seal rings. We have a little magnet that wand that I use to pull my lids out of the hot water. I can actually get a couple of these ring lids out and put on a towel. I'm more concerned with the rings the lids keeping their seal by getting them nice and hot. It works a lot better that way. Okay, let's go ahead and label some applesauce, and we're gonna put the applesauce at about, let's see, it's a 1/2 inch from the top of our jars. So I'm just gonna ladle it in. Move our ladle And we have a tool here that measures the distance, and a 1/2 inch. It goes, this is an inch mark, and then it it goes down little steps, and it goes from a 1/2 inch, 3/4, it goes from 1 inch, 3/4, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch. So you want to put it on the 1/2 inch mark. You're going to tip it down in, and if it does not touch the applesauce, then you're good. So this one, ever so slightly. Oops. So this is good. So then we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our tool once again, you're going to take your tool and you're going to go along the top of the ledge, which is the 1/2 inch mark, and make sure that you have enough headspace for your jars. And then we're going to take our wet rag and you're going to go around the rim, wiping off any excess so that we can take one of our tops out of the hot water. We're going to put the top on. Go ahead and add your ring. Use the same rag to hold your ring and just give it a nice light twist. And this one is ready to go into the boil baths. And so we continue through. Go ahead, fill up your next jar. And I have this little pot on warm, so this is staying quite warm. That one might be a little bit too much. It's real important that you have a good, you have good headspace for your applesauce as it goes into the boil bath. You want that 1/2 inch because it will expand as it's in the boil bath. Making sure we have no air bubbles. May have taken out a little bit too much. Okay, go ahead and wipe off your rim. Take your lid and your ring and go ahead and tighten it down. It's not hot, you can grab it. All right, there we go. Let me turn this up a little and keep it nice and hot. And we'll just keep right on going, and then when we get them filled, we'll go ahead and we'll put them in the bath. They're gonna go into a rolling bath for 20 minutes. Then you're gonna turn off your heat. You're gonna turn off your heat and you're gonna let them rest in the boil bath for another 5 minutes. A little bit more. And then they will be good to come out after resting for 5 minutes in the boil bath. Take your tool, make sure that you have enough headspace, that's that 1/2 inch. Settle your applesauce, and then we're gonna go ahead, wipe the rim again and add. So let's get these all done and get them in the boil bath. So we have all of the applesauce inside the boil bath. I was able to get 6 pint jars and 3 half pints. They have been boiling and I have them set for 20 minutes, and then I will turn off the heat, let them rest in the hot water for another 5 minutes, and then they'll be ready to come out and go on a towel. We also had a quart size full left out of the pan, and I'm just going to put this in the refrigerator because we'll go ahead and we'll eat this up. The applesauce came out absolutely wonderful. I'm very, very pleased with the consistency of the applesauce, and it's so tasty, even warm. The spices that I chose are just wonderful. So I will definitely be using that combination of spices again when I make applesauce. I very much enjoyed this adventure making applesauce for the first time. In the book, again, Ball Home Preserving. This is a great book. There is a recipe in here to make canned apple pie filling, which might be good for the holidays, or even good by itself. But anyways, it was a great adventure. Thank you so much. This canning is not for the faint at heart. This was probably from setup to finish, and I still have to do dishes, about 4 hours. But it was a lot of fun, and the product is absolutely amazing. You will not be disappointed. Again, thank you for coming on my adventures with my bees, with my kitchen, with my crafts, and I look forward to seeing you, and thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.